Joe Morris finds inspiration in the road-worn and weathered. His sensibilities embrace classic advertising, the rebellion of rock and roll, and the comfort of an old leather jacket. Adapting his aesthetic to any medium, anything that stays still long enough can become his canvas.
There's a lot of mixed media, graphic design. You find something on the ground and that inspired me to make something else. I'm kind of a visual DJ. I worked in an ad firm. I was an art director and moved up the ranks, and I was a creative director, and I was there for 15 years. But I always kind of had a side project going on. I was always in my garage. I always had something that I was working on painting, whether it was a commission or something I just did for myself. It was kind of like a creative outlet. You get, like, when you're in the corporate world, everyone's telling you how to twist your wrist, how to do things, whereas when I'm in my garage, I can turn the music on or the TV and I can do whatever I want. Everyone started saying, you're kind of having your own style and stuff. It's starting to become something recognizable, and then that's when it started to realize, aha, let's just keep doing more of it. I like it. I like to hang what I want to do on the walls. This is just an extension of me, and I'm just going to keep doing it, and then it became my day job. I would describe my style as it has an immediacy with an image right away, but then there's something deeper about it. It has sort of a restoration or old feeling. There's a yearning to hold on to things, and there's something very romantic about that. A lot of things that we grew up on were throwaways. Our toys were throwaway. Everything's plastic. Everything, even cars are plastic. The paint looks plastic, So there's kind of a need, sort of American folk art kind of thing happening right now. And it maybe has to do with the economy. People are like digging into things they didn't realize had worth to them anymore, because people need resources. So they go back to things that are still alive, like that car that's sitting in the barn. It's still got a heartbeat. You just got to make it go. I'm actually trying to get a nostalgic feel through my art that's put back onto vehicles. You can tell stories when you look at the bikes. There's things about art to tell stories. And so I kind of connected all that and said, well, let's make fine art that's on bikes as well, that function and move, and we can tell more stories. It kind of carries my art to a whole nother level. I'm trying to make it timeless, where people don't understand what period it came from. When I work on bikes, I think I'm kind of like themes, like a painting. I have to have an idea, and a lot of times I think of the character who would be riding this bike. Being able to do the kind of art that I do helps to make something so personal for people. From far away, you can see a bike that looks rough and tough and awesome, but up close, there's real personal touches. I love seeing patina on a car, but how do I create a piece of artwork that has that same vibe? I look at the colors, the rusts, the oxidized look of things, how metals change or flake on heat. I look at all those things. That's kind of maybe how I'm an artist. I look at that as like a color palette. There's a color palette for the next bike I'm going to do, or the next painting I'm going to do. So I look at it also as it's really beautiful. It's not, it doesn't look like it was stamped and made a million times. It now has its own personality from age and weather. It's very time consuming, hand done, every little nook and cranny to try to get a unique kind of aged look to it. I think you can get a different look than from airbrush. I almost feel like I'm beating in the history with the paintbrush. Yeah, I'm just trying to break the rules a bit and do what I like, You do something completely different, people scratch their heads at first. Someone may wrinkle their eyes and go, and walk by, but then they'll come back. And then they'll bring two more, and you go, check this out, what is this? And and then it starts to become sort of like, man, you're doing something that's unique. And people, when they start to get it, they're like, I'm not doing this to play safe. I'm trying to break the rules and be artistic about it. That's why when I show up for bike shows, I say this is Joe Morris art, or this is from J Moto Gallery. I like being able to spread my art in different ways, from motorcycles to canvas to murals to even, I still do like some corporate business. You get like the social media webs that are like, the guitar guys are talking about you now, the motorcycle industry's talking about you, the hot rodders are talking about you, the sports art collectors and collectors, around the world start to see your works. Some people that say, don't you want to just focus on one thing when you're working? And I go, I'm focusing on my art. It doesn't matter if it's on a guitar or a motorcycle, or a Studebaker or whatever. I've seen guys get real emotional when the bike is done, or stand back and be speechless. And it doesn't matter what, any moment you can do that is pretty awesome. And I hope that when I do art myself, I can sometimes have that same reaction, because then I know I'm making something that I think is really good. Hopefully someone will have the same reaction. Like, I've stopped midway through a painting and I've been speechless a few times. I'm not bragging or anything. It's just there's a thing with art. You can escape, but then find yourself in things. There's going to be a part of it that's self-reflective. It's very therapeutic, and that's kind of how I always did the artwork at night. Did advertising during the day. I needed some therapy. I'd go home and, and sit in my garage and work, and now I've got therapy every day. Being an artist and being able to get up every morning and work for your family and do what you love doing with your hands and with your mind, it is kind of a dream come true.